This is No Face Bigfoot, and welcome to my The Unauthorized Atari 2600 Throw Back Zine issues 27, 32, 33, and 34 quick review. And as you can tell outside today, like where Billy Crystal says, it looks marvelous out here. Actually he says you look marvelous, but you've just got to see how beautiful the weather is. Very few clouds in the sky. It's in the 70s, very low humidity, weather you can't beat. Let's get on here to the Throwback Zine review here. And the reason that I'm including this one is because I forgot to include it in my last video. And this one has a cover of the video game of Capcom's classic Commando. Yes sir, the Atari 2600 actually had Commando on it. Well, of course it had a lot of games. I mean, thousands upon thousands of games, although they look really nothing like their arcade counterparts except for a few of them. And for this issue, this is what you see in the table of contents. So, each issue has a few games in it, and then there's a Beat the Score challenge. Of course, short commentary from the guy who writes on, was it Mike Salzman? I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. Anyway, it starts off with Commando. Now, if you look, it actually doesn't look very bad for an Atari 2600 game. Now, you can only have so many characters on screen at a time or enemies, so it's very limited. But it plays very close to the game. But man, those red and green colors, ooh, kind of ugly, aren't they? But Atari 2600s could put out some bright colors. And if you notice, the arcade game is on the left, the Atari 2600 is on the right. Still not bad for an Atari 2600 game. So, again, that's what it looks like. And this is what the cover looked like. Activision put it out, so you know it had to be a pretty good game. They very rarely put out bad games back out. Remember, they were the first third-party game to produce video games. And it talks about the code book. So if you want to read about that, you can just pause it and read about it. Alright, so other stuff that's in here, the Atari 2600 bowling tourney. So I've never gotten to 300, I've gotten 299. And there's also strategy on how to play Miss Pac Man. My mom would always play with the one ghost monster on there because her wrist was really bad. And she'd play about 20 minutes and then had to quit because, the one ghost monster was really easy. In fact, in the game that had, unlike Pac Man's, which really stunk and you would rate probably negative 5 stars, this one was a 5 out of 5. It played just like the arcade game. Now, the mazes didn't look like exactly, but you could tell, they look like come from the game. So, it looked like pretty good like the counterparts. And the game was really, it was very challenging. Now, there's collector tips in here. Don't worry about it too much. Some people do, I don't. And it talks about Crazy Climber. John's Arcades to really talk about this game. And you had to climb up like this. And the gameplay is almost similar to like Spider-Man was on the Atari 2600. Except you had to use webs to climb. Here, you had to use your arms. So it was a very challenging game. So, alright. So that's it. They show where you have Atari 2600 t-shirts that were available. Don't know if they're available anymore because this is from last year, August 2020. Okay. And then there's a summary of the Challenge Club here, beating the scores on games. That's a pretty good list right there. Alright. That's for Season 2. And then they give you a Season 1 summary. And then they give you the leaderboards right here. Okay, so that's issue 27. Now let's go over to 32. We're going to talk about Grand Theft Auto. Did I just say GTA? Not really, but this was the closest that you would get to one of the most violent games, gun-wise. There are a couple of them that go beyond the taste and scope of this. And one of the games I'm sure most people who actually watch the channel would love to kill. We're talking about Custer. I'm not going to tell you the game. You can look it up for yourself. It's probably one of the most reprehensible video games of all time. Anyway, this one focuses on Gangster Alley. And the card for this game it talks about is Super Breakout, which is follow-up to the smash hit Breakout. Pun intended. Really bad pun intended. So, alright, here we go. And then Steeplechase, right, which I believe came out in 1976, was the trading card for the month. Yes, it was. So, and in this issue, I believe he talks about one of the issues here talks about Steeplechase. So this one talks about Gangster Alley. It talks about Magnum Force, the sequel to Dirty Harry. And if you know anything about Dirty Harry, you know about the 6 shots count, right? The quote from the movie. All right, this is what the game actually looks like. So there you go. You can't shoot innocent people on it. So, and there's another picture of it as well. There we go. That's what it looks like. So, anyway, make sure you don't shoot the hostages or the good people. Now, the next one's about the game Steeplechase. And always get this confused the name with Stampede, even though they're two completely different games. One is a rodeo, basically, roping up horses. And the other one, you're actually jumping hurdles and stuff. And the thing about Steeplechase, it's really hard to get a perfect run. And he's right about it. I think he mentions it in here. Yeah, there you go. On the right-hand page there. So, and I'm really sorry if I'm not holding this up real good. So, there you go. Again, this is real old video games. I never really played Steeplechase that much. I did on Atari 2600. And it actually is very colorful. I mean, look at that. For a late 70s video game, that's pretty good looking. Alright. So that's that. Oh, it was a 4-player game. I forgot to mention. There is a book review about Once Upon Atari by Howard Scott Warshaw. Again, I don't know much about it. But once I read the review, if it's good, I'll probably order the book once I get my little bonus. And then it talks about Skyjinx, the Activision patch here. Because with Activision games, for certain scores, you would get a patch for them, which is pretty cool. So it was kind of like, getting a trophy on PlayStation. And so that was pretty cool. Alright, so that's that. And then this month, Strategy Guide is on Millipede. And aside from having square mushrooms, this played exactly like the arcade. In fact, this game was super awesome. And it was hard. I mean, not in the sense of Dark Souls hard, or I want to be the guy hard, or I want to be the hero hard. But it was very difficult. You could get high scores on it, but you just had to be like super accurate. And this was an upgrade from Centipede. And not only was it the sequel and an upgrade, it was a major upgrade as far as difficulty because you have many more enemies. So, this is one of my favorite games from back in the day. And then it talks about the homebrew Gore. Now, this is one of my favorite arcade games from the 80s because it combines Space Invaders, Galaxian, a little bit of, I think, Phoenix with the at the end with the boss ship. And then it took a point where there was a space-time continuum warp where you had to shoot ships and save people. And it's very colorful. This looks really good for the Atari. I mean, I know it came out, what year was it? 2000 something it came out? It doesn't mention here. Oh, it says the game's only allegedly 40% complete, so. But yeah, it still looks very good. It talks about the year 2020 in review, about the golf tournament. My low score in golf was about 24, 25. That's because I cheated because you could change the difficulty and you could go through the grass on it. The Pitfall, the Activision cards, Perfect Asteroids game where you get a score of 99,990 points. So, that's crazy. And then the cover of Alien. And then I don't know anything about the Retro World Series, so I don't know where that comes from. The picture, again, this is from a Patreon supporter, so share the wealth. All right, so yeah, I think that's it for the issue. And then they talk about Montezuma's Revenge. Oh man, that's a crazy game. And Tutankham, which is kind of a disappointment for the Atari 2600, but still a decent game. All right, let's go over here. We don't want this video to be 29 minutes long. Montezuma's Revenge. Yes, sir. Oops. Sorry, David. Seems like I'm getting on everybody's nerves because I always say that all the time. Ugh. Anyway, Montezuma's Revenge. This was like a Metroidvania. Kind of like Pitfall. So it was a first of a kind. And this must, again... Oh, yeah. You know what? That was a sample one. I take it back. That was a sample card, wasn't it? Super Breakout. And this month's was Montezuma's Revenge. And on the other side, you can see the Apple II version of it. Which every school had tons of Apple II computers. Not Atari, but Apple II computers. Oh, man. And this talks about Montezuma's Revenge. And it shows you what it looks like. Again, it was one of the first Metroidvanias ever. Okay, so, and what does that mean? Part Metroid, part Castlevania. And here we go. Here's another picture. Okay, so it had a lot of things in it, in different difficulty levels, and then the game changed up to at times too. So it had some random alignments in there, I believe. All right, finally, Atari 2600 patch for Activision. Best hockey game on the system. It was a lot of fun. So, and one of the things, it had 32 shot angles on it, which for the time was revolutionary. So, kind of like Sinistar had 49 different directions you could go on it. And it doesn't look like much of a game, but for the time, it was actually pretty daggone fun. So, all right. So, more stuff here. Retailer confidential price list is exactly what it says. So, is exactly what it says. All right. And then it talks about Tutankham, how to beat it. Stage 4 of this game could be nearly impossible on the higher levels, especially on the highest difficulty level game. And what's really cool, instead of horizontal like in the arcade, this is vertical. And I mean, in an arcade game, I could always get through the first cycle of levels, and then it got really hard. I mean, it was a tough game to begin with because you can only fire left or right. So, you know, it's crazy. And then there's a preview for Mario Brothers, again, which was actually a pretty good game for the Atari 2600. Again, that was before the Nintendo came out. All right, here we go. Video chess. From what I understand, this was one of the craziest games on the system because the game could sit there and think for hours and hours and hours. I mean, whoa. Oh yeah, the sun didn't go up and down yet, but yeah. Yeah. It could be as long as a game of GTA. Okay, so I'm wrong about that, but yeah, it could take hours. Alright, so here we go. This is what the table of contents looks like. Okay. And again, I'm really sorry if I'm just kind of holding this. I'm just like, a little bit rushing here. I'm not showing that Super Breakout anymore. Video chess. Man, and I could go on and on about video chess back in the 80s, about all the handheld, not the handhelds, but, you know, the electronic versions of it. I'm not going to take too much time. I mean, if you want to learn how to play chess, there are tons of games on there. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, so. Alright, here we go. Oh yeah, and Larry Flint was an ally to the video game industry. If you don't know who he is, I can't help you. No, you can read the page to figure that out. This, I don't advertise NC-17 related magazines here. Alright, here we go. Strategy, Super Mario Brothers. Now, one of the things that's different about this game, the fireball will continually go across like this. So once it started, it would go across one level and it would keep on going. But a lot of the rules were still the same. But being an Atari, it was really hard to jump over the enemies in this, which I don't think you could do if I remember correctly. But in the arcade game, you could. And again, it shows you like some of the enemies here. So this is one of the best games. I mean, it was 2-player, and you can play as Mario or Luigi. And here, there's an enemy-specific strategy for the shell creepers, I believe. Okay, so there we go. And now we talk about Stampede. I get this mixed up with Steeplechase. Man, I could not play this game. And this is one of the best arcade-style Activision games out there. And again, we're talking about Activision when they first came out, not when all the sex scandals came out. Oops, did I just say that? Yeah, it did. All right, so you didn't want, I think the skulls tripped you up. And then you had, was it black horses on here? Yeah, there it is. They're stationary. You still had to catch it. And the crazy thing is, you could touch the horses and it would get them going. But the problem is, it's just, this was an incredibly challenging game. It was almost like Dark Souls. But if you could play this, that's different. There we go. All right. And look before you leap. So you can read these for yourself. Again, Patreon, paid advertisement. Not advertisement, excuse me, man. All right. So, ooh, it talks about Atari Force Comics. There we go. That was under DC Comics. All right. So, yeah, that's it. And April preview, Space Animators. Oh, Tron Daily Disc. That's a good game. All right. So, let's see if there's anything in here. And the challenge summary for the scores. That's what I like about this. All right. So, that's it for the video. Slap that thumbs up button if you haven't done so already. Slap the subscribe button. And I'm out. Peace. Oh, wait a minute. I got to do it like this. Then I got to stop the video. Peace.